Women of the Bible, the upper room, from creation to salvation. This video is going to be a little different. The Bible is amazing. This week I began my study in 1 Kings and found myself hopping through passages like a child with a new toy. One thing led to another, and I began comparing verses, images, and themes, asking God, does this mean what I think it means? So I prayed about it, found the thread that God was pressing into my heart, and I began to pull on it. With much reading and some discussion with friends, I finally found the stream that puts all the pieces together, and that is what I hope to share with you today. We begin in 1 Kings 17:17-24, where Elijah is living in the wilderness during a time of drought. God provides for him, sending a raven with food twice a day, until the stream that Elijah had been using for water dries up. God then instructs Elijah to go to a town outside of Israel, where a widow will provide for him. Elijah goes. He meets a widow at the gate who is gathering sticks. He asks her, "Get me some water in a jar so that I might drink." As she goes to do this, he then says, "And bring me bread so that I may eat." The widow looks at him and says she has only enough flour and oil to make a last meal for herself and her son. Then they will die because the food will be gone. Elijah tells her to make him a loaf from the last remnants of her provisions, then use the rest for herself and her son. If she does this, God will provide her with unlimited flour and oil until the rains return. The widow obeys, and God does supply her with unlimited flour and oil for the remainder of the drought. She sets a place for Elijah in her home, an upper room where he can live with her and her son. A short time later, her son becomes ill and dies. She asks Elijah if her son's death is payment for her sins. She believes God is punishing her. Elijah takes the boy into his upper room, lays him on the bed, and begins to pray. He lays upon the boy, giving his warmth, his breath, his life for the child. And after doing this 3 times, the child wakes, resurrected. When Elijah brings the boy down to his mother, she proclaims, "You are a true man of God." Now we skip ahead to 2 Kings 4:18-37, where Elisha is traveling and comes across a prominent Shunammite woman. She invites him to stay with her and her husband. Each time Elisha travels through the area, he stays at this woman's home. She sets a place for him, an upper room, so that he will always have a permanent place in her home, and he stays with her often. Upon one such visit, he tells her, "Though your husband is old, this time next year you shall have a son." She asks him not to deceive her, but a year later she bears a son. Elisha continues to stay with her household, on and off, throughout the years, always asking after their well-being. After some time, the child becomes ill and dies. The woman carries the child into the upper room where Elisha stays, lays him on the bed, and then makes her way to Mount Carmel, where Elisha is residing. As she approaches, Elisha sends his servant to ask if she, her husband, and her son are well. She replies, "All is fine." The servant brings her to Elisha. She falls before him and says, "Did I ask for a son from my Lord? Did I not say, 'Do not deceive me'?" 2 Kings 4:28. Elisha sends his servant to lay his staff upon the boy, but the woman refuses to leave without Elisha. So Elisha rises and goes with her. The servant meets them on the road and says the laying of the staff did nothing for the child. When Elisha and the woman reach the house, Elisha goes to the upper room, closes the door, and prays over the child. He lays on the boy, breathing into his mouth, eye to eye, hand to hand, and the flesh of the child becomes warm. Verse 34. Then Elisha leaves the room, walks through the house, and returns to the upper room, again laying himself upon the boy. The lad sneezes 7 times and wakes up. Elisha calls the woman upstairs and tells her, "Take up your son." She falls to her knees before Elisha, then takes up her son and leaves. Both of these stories are full of rich themes and lessons. They parallel each other, much as Elijah and Elisha can be confused in our minds with the similarities in their names. While doing a comparison and trying to find a core meaning, I began to fixate on the upper room. And that is where this journey truly begins. Recall another upper room, where Jesus and his disciples broke bread. A new covenant was made between God and man, Luke 22, 7-20, Mark 14, 12-25, Matthew 26, 17-30. And again, in Acts, Pentecost, where the Holy Spirit came and the church was born, Acts 1:13, Acts 2, 1-4. Tabitha, in Acts 9:36-41, was placed in an upper room upon her death until Peter came and raised her to life in the city of Joppa. This may be visual representations of being born again. Elijah lays upon the child and prays 3 times. Elisha lays upon the child and prays 2 times. Jesus comes, sacrifices himself, and rises on the 3rd day. And the church is born into the new covenant and filled with the Holy Spirit. But why 7 sneezes, Lord? I'll admit, as a girl, this was the part of the story I remembered. I found it funny and intriguing. But now, in 7 days, God created the earth, giving life to everything. His creation, his design, his story, our story. 7 sneezes as someone is resurrected, born again, a new creation in the revitalization of Jesus Christ. 7 blazing lamps before the throne in Revelation, the fullness of his Spirit. The Trinity, the beginning, the middle, and the end. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1:1. All one story, all moving toward the same place, God's eternal plan to bring life where there was none. From the dust of Eden to an upper room in a prophet's house, from a table in Jerusalem to the sea of glass before the throne, it is the same God, the same breath, the same promise, unfolding through time, bringing us to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Blessed assurance plays in my mind as I type these last paragraphs. The fulfillment of a promise, the promise of life, the promise of eternity with a God who designed all of it. What a wonderful, awe-inspiring creator he is. May he bring you joy, peace, and guarantee in all things, even death. For he has defeated death, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing, to fear anymore. That's the upper room, from creation to salvation.